It's Catherine ND, the Family Life Coach. How are you? So glad to be with you all today. Today we are going to be talking about curiosity, and specifically how to use curiosity to continue to get to know your child over and over and over throughout their lifetime. So the reason this came up is it's been coming up in conversations between me and my husband, and also some parents in this community have actually been asking about this, like how do I raise my child and sort of keep going with the daily tasks of parenting without imposing my own goals and values too much on my child? Like, there's a balance between what we want for our children and who our children are as people, right? Like, we want to explore and get to know them as people. They came into the world as whole beings who have a purpose and a drive and their own personality and their own reason for being. And we want to support that and get to know them over and over again as much as possible. So one of the best ways to do this is to just be curious, to just bring curiosity into the parenting relationship. And this gets at, if you saw my video either last week or the week before about the role versus the relationship, this is really about the relationship piece, right? Like, this is about who is this little person that I am now in relationship with. And as they grow and get older and bigger, they're going to change. And they're also going to be who they are. And so, you've often heard me say, this is a person you want to be in relationship with as they get older and when they're an adult. And we want to just keep asking, who are you? Who are you inside? What kind of person are you? What are you here for? And how can I support you, right? And so the way to, I used to worry that I wanted to raise my children with certain kinds of values. And I was concerned about, like, how do you do that? Like, and the answer to that is just to live your values, right? Like, it's just be who you are, demonstrate what your values are as a family, and kids just absorb that stuff naturally. And we don't have to even be very explicit about it. It just comes up in conversation, in the way that we interact with other people, and the way that we are in the world. And so that stuff kind of comes naturally, but as our children start to demonstrate to us who they are, who's that little being or that big being inside that little body, we're getting to know a sovereign person, right? Who's their own being. And so in order to continue to get to know that person, we just have to ask questions. We just have to wonder, who are you? What are you here for? How can I support you? What do you need? We can just be constantly wondering these things and asking ourselves and even asking our children these questions. And I don't know about you, but my husband and I both have shared with each other that we've had the experiences as young adults that, you grow into adolescence and you're sort of becoming who you are, and your parents think they know who you are and they think they know what you're into and what you're about. And then you go off to college and you come home and you've changed, right? Like, you go off to college and, like, some things change, or you solidify aspects of your personality, and then you choose to change other things, and maybe you have new interests. But for me, my parents thought they knew who I was then. Like, they thought the development had ended in some ways. And so they stopped being as curious about who I was as a person. And so then there was this weird tension of, like, they thought they knew me, but then I didn't feel seen and heard because I felt like they knew this old version of me. And so there was, like, this tension, right? And so the reason I'm bringing this up to you all who have very young children is that when you can establish this habit and this routine of being curious about who they are now, and just continue to ask yourself, like, who are you? That you don't assume you know who they are just because they're your child, because they don't belong to you. They belong to themselves, right? You just get to raise them for a little while, and then you launch them into the world. And so being able to stay in relationship with them involves being curious about, who are you? What are you about? What do you need? What's changing? What's staying the same? And so bringing that curiosity to the relationship really helps them feel seen and heard. It helps them to feel like you want to know who they are over and over again as they change, as they grow, as they develop, that they can feel open and safe to tell you who they are. And if something changes, they know, oh, my mom or dad doesn't have me stuck in their mind as this one personality, but that I'm allowed to grow and change, and they're open to seeing what evolves, right? And so this is my tip for you today. It kind of goes deep. Like, I think this really goes deep into, not just our relationship with our children, but also just like who we are as people and who are they as people. Like, I feel like that's really, really deep work, but I think you all are ready for it. So just staying curious, just keeping your mind and your heart open to who is this little being in my home that I get to raise into adulthood, and how can I support them? And when they throw something strange your way that you're like, they're suddenly interested in something that perplexes you, or that isn't. I have a child who's really into sports. My husband and I are not athletic at all. We're like, and sometimes, and I actually feel like this has been a mistake on our part, that sometimes we joke like, what planet are you from? Or, things that make my son feel like maybe he doesn't belong in this family because he has parents who are not athletic. So by saying those things, it makes him feel isolated or alienated, and so we've walked back from saying those kinds of things, and instead just like curious, like, I was never really into sports, so what is it you like about baseball? What is it you love about playing soccer? How does that make you feel? Tell me more about that. What are some other sports you're interested in? How can we help you get involved in other things that you love, even though that's different than how I am or how my husband is? So that's just a really concrete example of how this plays out, but just staying open, staying curious. And what a gift to get to be in relationship with these little people. So that's my tip for Monday. Hope you all are having a great day. Bye.